This is going to sound crazy to some people, but for some first-year lawyers at large law firms in the hottest markets, lawyers are starting out making $200,000 and some even $205,000. That's for a first year. What's up, you guys? It's your girl Angela. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new here. Hey, hello. My name is Angela and I do all sorts of videos on law school, lawyer life, and all things in between. So if that sounds like something you want to see, come on and check me out, subscribe, and let's get into it. So today's video, we're going to be talking about something that's pretty important to me, and that is personal finance, okay? You guys know that although I do a lot of videos about being a lawyer on this channel, personal finance is really, really important to me. It's probably one of the biggest things that I looked into once I knew I was going to become a lawyer and start my big lawyer job, because I wanted to do things right. So today's video is very, very important to me. So for all my young lawyers or future lawyers, listen up, okay? So particularly for this video, it's going to be what I call the lawyer financial dues, okay? Lawyer salary financial dues. Now, as you might guess, lawyers tend to make more money than your average college grad or average 20-something when they're coming out of law school, just given the fact that they're lawyers. So obviously that's a very, very awesome thing. It's very great to be able to be in a career that not only you're passionate about, but also that you make a little money, because hey, what are we all working for, right? But as many financial gurus will say, salary does not equal financial success. There are many people who make what can be considered a ton of money who live paycheck to paycheck, okay? So it's not always about how much money you have coming in, it's about how you're managing that money. So for those of you who are kind of in tune with the legal market, you guys know that salaries have been raised for a lot of law firm associates in the legal market, particularly in big law and in larger markets, okay? This is going to sound crazy to some people, but for some first-year lawyers at large law firms in the hottest markets, lawyers are starting out making $200,000 and some even $205,000. That's for a first year. That's a lot of money for someone just starting their career. But like I said, sometimes it's not about how much money you're making, but it's how you manage your money. So this is why I wanted this video, so we can talk about managing your money, okay? Now, disclaimer, none of this is financial advice, okay? This is all based on kind of my views, my experience, my journey, and the kind of the things that I've seen, experiences I've had, mistakes I've made, and successes I've had, okay? I noticed out there that there's a lot of resources for personal finance out there in the world, a ton. One thing that I recall when I first graduated from law school and was starting my job is that I couldn't find a resource that was very relatable to me. So, for example, I took Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University, right? And one of the things he says in his Financial Peace University is one of the goals is to save $1,000. Well, for me, just given, you know, the work that I did and kind of what my salary was, that wasn't really hard for me. A lot of the advice that he gave, you know, about spending and things like that and saving and a budget, it just wasn't as relatable to me because I was more on the high earning side, right? So one thing that I was doing when I first graduated, because I knew I wanted to do money right? I knew nothing about money, but I knew I wanted to make good financial decisions. So I was on a hunt for something that was relatable to me and would help me with my personal finance situation, which is I have student loans, but I'm a high earner and I want to make good financial decisions. That's kind of like the way I kind of pieced it together in my head. So I did a lot of searching on the internet and I found a resource that I want to introduce to you guys today, okay? And I'm really, really excited, okay, that I'm partnering with the Big Law Investor, okay? So hopefully you guys are familiar with the Big Law Investor, but if you aren't, I got you. Your girl's got you, okay? So the Big Law Investor is a personal finance blog geared specifically to lawyers, okay? So, you know, it's perfect for people like myself, future lawyers, anybody like that who has the potential to be high earning, but also knows that just because you have a high salary, that you cannot stop there and you need to do the work, you need to be knowledgeable, and you need to make good decisions, okay? So one thing I love about the Big Law Investor is it was created by a big law lawyer, okay? Somebody who knows exactly what it's like to be in the shoes of someone like myself. I love it. It's so relatable and it touches on literally every personal finance topic question that a person could have, especially when it comes to building wealth. You guys know me. If you're not new to the channel, you guys know building wealth is the goal, it's the plan, it's what I'm here for. And so I just love this site. Okay, so on that note, let's take a look at the site. So this is the Big Law Investor site, and don't worry, I'll have a link directly to the website down below, but I love their motto, personal finances for the aspiring millionaire lawyer. That's so me, you guys. So let's take a look. So right away, you see cool things like buy life insurance, which is so important. We all should have life insurance. If you don't, check into it. As well as get a JD mortgage. I'm not sure how many of you guys knew this, but there's particular specific mortgages with benefits for people who have JDs. And then also there's a tab on there about investing in real estate. Then this one is a big one, refinance your student loans. You guys know I recently did that again, or I think I told you guys I recently did that again. Refinancing your student loans for a better rate is always a good idea, in my opinion. As you see, this website has been featured in some really big publications, which is pretty cool. And then obviously you need to sign up for the site to get the monthly newsletter, you guys, and it's not too overwhelming. As you can see, it just says that it's one email each month, but it covers all sorts of personal finance tips and advice, you know, on everything personal finance. And you guys, I get it and I love it. So definitely go sign up for that. So let's shoot back up to the top. So if you're not sure where to start, just click on start here and it'll basically take you to where you want to go. So there's so many categories. You can look at accounts, 401k, IRA, super important, liabilities, student loans, consumer debt. Then there's even an exits section, which if you don't plan on staying in Big Law for a long time, you need to read these articles. They're really, really important and give you good guidance. Then we go to savings. They have a budget, which is great. We'll talk about later. The marketplace, which has, you know, links to refinancing student loans and all sorts of things like that. And then other tools that you can use to kind of keep up with your money. I use a couple of those on that list. Yeah, guys, so don't forget to check out the site and make sure you sign up for the monthly newsletter. All you have to do is type in your email, but definitely check out the Big Law Investor. So I want to talk about what I call 5 financial dues for your lawyer salary, okay? So the first one is for my people with student loans, and that is refinance your law school student loans, okay? Now there are all sorts of caveats with that, right? So if you're going to be eligible for student loan repayment because you're working a government job, obviously that doesn't apply to you. Or if you have amazing student loan interest rates like 1% or something crazy like that, obviously that doesn't apply to you. This will be for my law school grads who have, you know, that 6-figure debt, whose interest rates range from, you know, 6% to 12% and all these crazy interest rates. Well, right now interest rates are low, okay? They're really, really low. And so a lot of people, myself included, are really nervous about refinancing government loans because they feel as if they are going to lose government protections on those loans. My suggestion for you guys would be to just talk to lenders and see what your options out there, ask about all your concerns, and look for the lowest interest rate that you can find. I personally have refinanced my student loans. I waited entirely too long. Probably one of the biggest financial mistakes that I've made is I waited entirely too long to refinance my student loans. I've been thinking about it since the day I graduated from law school, but I too was nervous about refinancing because of those government protections I thought I would be losing. Now, one thing to consider also is right now for some people, if you have government loans, you know, student loan repayment is, you know, kind of on pause, and that's probably good for some people who maybe are unemployed or lost their job or whatever. But if you need to be paying student loans anyway, like I really don't see the point in not paying unless you absolutely can't or you have other things you need to prioritize. So I probably wouldn't let that stop me, and also that's probably going to end here soon. But just something to consider is refinancing your student loans can really cut down on how much student loan interest you're paying over the life of the loan. Again, I waited way too long, and then once I finally did, I've refinanced twice so far. So I refinanced right in the early part of the pandemic, and then I refinanced again a couple of months ago for a lower rate. And I will keep refinancing if that means my interest rate continues to drop down, because that means I'm going to be paying less money over the life of the loan. Okay. Now, there are all sorts of student loan companies out there that you can refinance your loans with. I'll have some links down below. I personally refinance my student loans with Earnest, and I do have a link that you can use to sign up to refinance your loans. There's also a ton of other companies you can look into refinance your student loans, which I'll leave some links to some resources. So to sum that up, check out your options for refinancing your student loans. Really, really look into getting a lower interest rates and just knowing your options and making the decision that's best for you and your finances. All right, so the next thing I found to be really important in spending my lawyer salary is contributing to investment and retirement accounts. As I mentioned before, a lot of us, our first career is being a lawyer, right? So we go to undergrad for 4 years minimum, then we go to law school for 3 years. So that's 7 years minimum of schooling before you start your career, right? So if you're like me and you went straight through and you get out of law school, you're still pretty young, 25, right? And that sounds really young, and that you don't need to be worrying about saving for retirement. That would be wrong. First of all, if you went straight through and being a lawyer is your first career and you're just now starting your 401k or other investing for retirement at the age you graduated from law school, you're already late, okay? A lot of people go into the workforce as early as 18, but for your average person, 21, 22 when they graduate college, okay? So you're already years behind if you're just now starting as a law grad. Most importantly, the later you wait to contribute to those accounts, the later you get to take advantage of compound interest, okay? We all know compound interest accelerates the growth of your investments or your savings, okay? So the earlier that you invest, the better, because your money will grow. So that is a key thing, is to be contributing to your retirement or other investments accounts for your future savings. Okay, so this next one is huge, okay? And that is avoid the lifestyle creep, okay? If you're anything like me, you were kind of, just scraping by in law school or undergrad, you knew how to get by and be happy and live a good life with not a lot of money because you were a student. You weren't making a ton of money. But for some reason, the moment that first paycheck hits, the moment that salary hits, people all of a sudden need all these luxuries. They feel like they work so hard in school and it's time to reward yourself. But I would just caution you guys to be aware of the lifestyle creep, okay? One thing that I've heard from the beginning of time since I started my law school career is once you get in that law firm, avoid the golden handcuffs. And what that means is, this is just not even a lawyer context, but in any job context, you never want to feel like you have to be somewhere because you need that job. And golden handcuffs means the moolah, the dinero, is going to keep you at that job because you need the money. And specifically because of your expenses compared to your income, okay? So if you have income up to here and expenses up to here, you absolutely need this income in order to pay all these expenses that you built up. So what you'll find is people tend to go out and get the fanciest car. So then they have this expensive car note. They tend to get the fanciest, biggest mansion, versus a modest home. And then they have this huge mortgage. And then the lifestyle creep, you tend to increase your lifestyle as more money comes in, okay? And there's nothing wrong with, not living, like you have nothing when you do have a nice salary. But I would caution you to be aware of that in case you do want to change your job, okay? Especially for my big law people, okay? Sometimes that big law job is going to be a lot more than some of your other options out there. Even if you might enjoy that work better, you're not going to be making as much money as you were working at a big law firm. So you want to think about that. You want to think about your future. You don't want to increase your expenses to where you need your $200,000 big law job when your passion is really working a $100,000 job. But your expenses are so high that you have to keep that $200,000 job. And hopefully that makes sense, okay? I'm not trying to stop anybody from living their best life, but live your best life reasonably and avoid a lifestyle creep that you cannot maintain if you don't stay at one specific job. Okay, so the other thing that I think is important when you first get that lawyer salary is to go ahead and pay off that consumer debt, that bad debt. So luckily I didn't really have this issue, but I know a lot of times when you're in school, you have to make sacrifices and you have to make choices that may not be the best financially because you're trying to make it through. So what that means is a lot of times people end up with credit card debt and all sorts of you know, just very high interest, bad debt. So once that lawyer salary starts creeping in, one thing I would do is prioritize that high interest, bad consumer debt, okay? You don't want to carry on that debt. You don't want to be owing, you know, 20% interest on a credit card. That's just insane. Honestly, it should be illegal. All right, so the last thing that is super, super, super important is to have a budget. Yeah, I said a budget. Yes, even for you guys who are going to be making the $200,000, you need a budget, okay? Everybody needs a budget. No matter how much money you make, if you don't have a plan for where your money is going to go, you won't know where your money goes, you won't be keeping track of it, and you will likely overspend, okay? A budget is so key.
Speaking of budget, so Big Law Investor actually has a sample budget for a first year associate. The salary is a little bit below what the, you know, top Big Law salary is, just because, like I said, they just went up. So this is one that's probably from a couple years ago, but look at this. Like, it's so great. So it basically gives you kind of a guideline or baseline for a salary based on realistic expenses.
And the cool thing I like about the sample budget is it was like realistic, okay? There's stuff on there for entertainment, eating out, you know, Netflix and things like that. So it doesn't restrict you to where you can't do anything, but it also does give you a guide to how to really buckle down, get your student loans paid off, you know, really make good financial decisions. All right, guys, so that's pretty much all I have for you guys today. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe and make sure your post notifications are on, okay? Check out the description box for links to anything that I mentioned in today's video, particularly the Big Law Investor. Another huge shout out and thank you to Big Law Investor for sponsoring this video. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. I will see you in the next video. Peace.